I'm going to be doing a video today on using your tarot cards to write stories. Um, this is one of the first things I started doing when I got my tarot decks, and specifically I was working first with a Marseille, and then I got the Fountain Tarot. And I started using it as like a storyboard, and it worked out really well. And I got, I think, 10 chapters, and then I got busy with other things. I will go back to it though. Anyway, so today I'm going to show you what I did and how I did it, and maybe you'd like to try it if you want to write some fiction. A short story, a novella, or even a novel could be done this way. So let's, there's a lot of shadow in this, isn't there? Why is that? Why is there so much shadow? Maybe that's a little bit better. Anyways, so I'm using the Fountain Tarot, which is a favorite deck of mine. I usually read with this, read with other people, for other people with this. And it's a great deck. Great deck. Got great pictures in it. I am not happy with the shadow in this. Oh! It is normally is much better to shuffle. You can see it's well worn. It's kind of a modern deck, but it is a Rider-Waite Smith deck. It's a derivative, I'd say. And these should be pretty well shuffled. I don't have to do too much shuffling. So when I do this, I have my computer next to me. I didn't bring my computer because you're not going to see me type. I'm just going to tell a verbal story. I'll tell you a story verbally. But what I do is I turn one card over at a time, and then when I look at the card, I start telling the story and I start typing it at the same time. So I do it that way. Let me just check this. This shadow. Let's see, that's a little bit better. Okay, so we're going to pull 5 cards, and this isn't going to be the whole story. This is just going to be like a chapter or an idea for a story. Now, one of the things about storytelling is what is a story? And this is something that's sort of important to keep in mind. A story is very simple. A story, a fiction story, is basically about someone who wants something or needs something and can't get it. And that's pretty much the whole story. If you look at your movies, if you look at read your novels, short stories, it's about a character who wants or needs something and then goes in pursuit of that and is frustrated throughout, as the story goes on. That's essentially what a story is about. So keeping that in mind, we're going to start using this as a storyboard. And we're going to start at the top. Doesn't really matter. Okay, the Ace of Swords. The Ace of Swords is the mind suit. It's the beginning of a story. It's the beginning of a suit. It's the mind and the communication card. It's also, if you notice, this card is a very modern card. It's not abstract, it's just a modern, and it's like a tall building. So I see my character as a woman. I usually characters are women, not all the time, but I see this as a woman maybe in business. Maybe she's living in a large city, and maybe her name is Celia. And I got Celia from this ace, Celia. Her name is Celia, and she is she works in the business district down in a large city. I'll say Buffalo, New York, because I'm from Buffalo and I know Buffalo. So it's always good to have your environment, a place where you can really, well that you can actually use in your stories. You don't have to call it Buffalo, but at least that's a point of reference. So she's a woman who works downtown in Buffalo. I see her in the banking industry. She's not high level. I think she started out, her name is Celia, and she started out her job as a teller, and now she's mid-management. She goes to work every day. She's a single woman. And her days are, she goes to town, she takes the subway. She has a very regimented life. And so it's a story about her. I would put her in her 30s. Her name is Celia. She works in a bank. in downtown Buffalo, and she has a very kind of a normal life right now. Single lady, no children. Now here we have the Two of Cups. We have actually two people here and two cups. She's getting over a relationship, Celia. Celia was in a relationship for 2 years. She was in a relationship with a man who she dearly cared about. But he was cheating on her. And because he was cheating on her, she didn't realize that until they broke up, that he had been cheating on her all the time. She was strong enough to leave him, but that still left her with a lot of doubting about her own self. You know, is she good enough? Is she pretty enough? So she's kind of going through this. She's kind of discouraged and depressed, and she's trying to get out of it. She's kind of going through her life sort of like just without much feeling. She's just kind of getting up every day, going to work, coming home, and she's kind of, when she was with him, she was with a couple. There were other couples with her, so that she had a whole friend group, and now she's not part of a couple, so she's by herself, and so she's even more isolated because of that. She thinks a lot about him, and she also is wondering about what did she miss, or how did she let this happen, or was it her fault? So she's got a lot of issues. Anyways, okay, so far that's the situation. Okay, so now we have the King of Cups. We have a gentleman, older gentleman, in a chair here. What are these called? These a papasan chair. I think that's what they used to call those. Now they call them something else. It's not a papasan chair, but it sort of looks like it. This is her boss, and he's he likes to have women around. He always seems to hire women. He always seems to promote women, because he knows that women are the ones that work hard. Even though they can get married and they can get pregnant while they're working with him, he knows they really, really work hard. They're always the ones that stay late. They're always the ones that pay attention to detail. So she has to deal with him, and he can be he's kind of guy that's you're positive and negative. So he gives you a lot of praise, but then he pulls the rug out from you at times. So he's kind of he's a rough guy to read, and she has to deal with him fairly often. So she's dealing with men issues, and then she's got this guy at work who's her boss. But she goes through it. I mean, she's learned from. She's been doing this job. Let's say she's been in the banking system for 10 years now. And so she knows how to work with people. She knows how to get through people. I'm thinking this guy could have some bad, what do you call it? He has some motivations that are not honorable, and not the sexual motivations, but I think he expects the women to take the fall for him in a lot of ways. So he sets things up so women around him could take the fall for him if he's ever found out for doing anything illegal. So she doesn't know that, but she sometimes has trouble dealing with him, but lets it slide. It's how she deals with men a lot. She always lets things slide, and she tries to think of the good side of it rather than being confrontational. The Nine of Swords. Okay, now we have a situation. This is the first chapter, the first part of the book, and right now we have a situation where things are getting bad. Something happens with this guy that puts her in a worse position than she was when she went to work today, whatever day that was. All of a sudden, she finds out that he has done something. All of a sudden, she's found out that this man here has actually sexually accosted or abused or used his power to get a woman in a precarious position. She finds this out, and now she doesn't know what to do. So she's starting to, she sees this event in the first chapter of the book. So we have her going to work. She's getting over her love affair. She meets up with this guy for something has to do with work. And then during the day, at some point, she realizes there's someone else in the office. She overhears something, and she overhears that he is being very inappropriate with another worker, with a woman. And the woman, I think, is a younger girl, a younger woman, maybe 22, 23. And Celia hears this, finds this out. So now she's in a dilemma. She has her job. She needs her job just to keep her sanity with what's going on. But this, she knows about this guy. So what will she do? Will she tell the truth? Will she confront him? Will she try to talk to the girl, try to get the girl to do something? So this is the dilemma that we're finding her in. And then the Fool. And I think what happens at the end of the chapter is, because I don't use this as the whole book. You could use this as the whole book, but this is as if you're writing a short story or something. But then what she does is the Fool, she runs away. So rather than deal with it, she kind of sweeps it under the rug and goes on her merry way. So that could be a first chapter. We get the setting. We don't know what she wants. She just wants to get over this boyfriend. She wants to move on, find something to get her moving in the right direction. She's kind of lost right now. And then she comes up with this guy who's her boss, who's she realizes is being a predator with a younger worker, and she has to come to some decision what to do. And she has a lot of mixed emotions, and what she does at the end of the chapter is say, it's not my problem, it's I have nothing to do with this. So that's my first chapter of this story. Very easy to do. What do you think? I think I should write this one down. So that's an idea, a way to do storyboards with the tarot deck. When I first did this, I thought, man, I'm brilliant. This is such a brilliant thing to do. And then I realized there are books about this, using tarot for writing fiction. I haven't read them yet, but it sounds like a good idea. It sort of spurs your imagination and your intuition, your imagination. It's important to know, though, what writing is and your basic tenets of a story, But they pretty much are, the basic tenet is it's about a character who wants something, needs something, and who can't get it. In this case, she wants her sanity back. She wants her old self back. And so that's how we find her in the beginning. So I hope this has been helpful or fun. It's very freeing if you are a writer. I would definitely encourage you to buy a tarot deck. And this is a wonderful tarot deck because of the pictures. The pictures are fantastic in this deck. They're modern. They're kind of neutral, but there's a lot of things to riff on. Some people love this deck. Some people hate this deck. I think it's a fantastic deck myself. So there are many reviews online with this deck. I don't know when it came out, a few years ago, I guess. It's important to have this in if you do readings, I think you need this. For other people, it's a great deck. The coloration, of course, is just perfect. I know with the Rider-Waite Smith, the colors are just, to me, they kind of are jarring. Where these are all these neutral colors that are quite beautiful and quite evocative. So I hope this has been helpful. Have a great day and write yourself a story with your tarot cards. Bye-bye now.